Hey guys, it's Glenn from glenscarcollection.com, and today is my 7-year ownership review of my 2005 Acura NSX. And I have to voice over this whole first segment because a storm was brewing. We were having a rainstorm. Thankfully, it wasn't a thunderstorm, but the wind is so fierce you can't even hear me talking, so I had to voice this over, so please bear with me. So in this video, we're going to go over what it cost to buy this car, what I bought it 7 years ago, what it's worth today. I had a 1995 NSX Targa before this, so I've had NSXs since 2011, so 12 years worth of ownership. I'll go over maintenance, what it costs to buy, what they're worth today, what I've spent on maintenance during those 12 years for the two cars, and what the differences are between NA1 and NA2, production numbers, current values, what the values were worth back then, and then at the end of the video, we'll take it for a drive. So they made the NSX here in the US from model year 1991 to 2005. You're looking at a 2005, which is the final model year. They only made 248 that year. And as you know, Matt Farah just bought an 05 NSX. And how can you tell the difference? Well, 02s and 05s look exactly the same. They have the fixed headlights. Now, a lot of people like the pop-up headlights, and I do as well. But from a practical standpoint, if you're going to drive at night, driving around with those pop-up headlights, the bulbs in there, it's like driving with a dying flashlight, where this actually lights up the road and you can actually see where you're going at night. Now this color, Long Beach Blue Pearl, not to be confused with Long Beach Blue on my BMW M2, was only made during the facelift cars with the fixed headlights, 02 to 05, so 4 model years. They made a total of 88 cars, 80 with a manual transmission, 8 with an automatic. So that's the good thing about an NSX. You know, if you're shopping for 911s or Ferraris, they're always listed as manual transmissions. You look at the pictures, you see the paddles. The good thing is here in the United States, 91% of NSXs came with a manual transmission. Now they made roughly 8,949 cars here, and the majority, about a third of them, are 1991s. They made just over 3,000 in 1991. They had smaller wheels in the beginning. This car has the biggest wheels the NSX ever came with stock, the original NSX, which are 17-inch wheels. And when you buy these cars, make sure you get the original wheels. When I bought this car in 2016, these wheels were worth about $1,000. Now they're worth about $10,000, and even going up from there. Because remember, the facelifted cars is only 862 cars from 02 to 05, so roughly about 10% of them were this color. Now this car, brand new in 1991, was $65,000. In today's money, 2023, that would equal $147,000. Now this car is the final year, 2005. This car has an MSRP of $93,000. which ironically is also $147,000 in 2023 dollars. So it's funny that even though the car went up in those 14 years from $65,000 to $93,000, with inflation, it was essentially the same price. To give you an idea, the new NSX in 2017 had a starting price of $157,000, and not the Type S, but the last regular new NSX, that's such a thing, in 2022 was $167,000. So essentially, it's always stayed in that markup. Difference between NA1s and NA2s, how can you tell? Well, all the NA1s are pop-up headlights, and you can tell actually by looking at the VIN number. The VIN number will either say NA1 or NA2. The NA1 cars had a 3-liter, 6-cylinder engine, 5-speed manual or automatic. The NA2 cars, which came out in model year 97 through this year, the last year, 2005, were 3.2-liter V6s, 6-speed manual. So the NA2s are significantly faster than the NA1s, and I've owned both, and I own both at the same time. The original NSX was 0 to 60 in 5.7 seconds. That 91 NSX competed with the Ferrari 348, which was also manual transmission, but went 0 to 60 in 6 seconds. The NSX beat it in braking, acceleration, handling, the whole bit. So the NA2 cars have 20 more horsepower, slightly bigger engine, but the biggest thing is the gearing. We went from a 5-speed to a 6-speed with shorter gears, and it allows you to stay in the VTEC the entire time when you redline into the next gear. That dropped the 0 to 60 time to about 5 seconds flat, about the same as an E46 M3. So I bought this car for $60,000 in 2016, and that was all the money for a low mileage 02 to 05. Matt Farah just bought an 18,000 mile car, and I think that's what it was when I bought this car. I've more than doubled the miles at 43,000. I'd say today's value at 43,000 for a clean car like this is about $150,000. If it had 10,000 miles, it would sell for $250,000. If it has 90,000 miles, it would sell for $90,000. Now, if those prices back then, 60 was all the money for this car in 2016. In 2011, I bought my black on tan 1995 with, I believe, 60,000 miles for $31,000. Now at that time it was probably worth $33,000. It needed a $2,000 timing belt, so that was factored into the price. So the first car I had, besides timing belt, a couple sets of tires, especially rear tires, only last 8 to 10,000 miles. That black 95 NSX that I had for 5 years cost me about $4,000. And this car, in the 7 years I've had it, also cost me $4,000. A timing belt, which is $2,500 at an Acura dealer, $1,500 at an independent. You do it every 7 years, couple sets of tires, fluid changes, oil changes. And I'm into it about 70 grand total. So an $80,000 profit. Bought it for 60, counting sales tax, shipping from California, all the maintenance, timing belt, tires. I'm into it 70 grand. And if I sold it today, it would be about 150. All right, so let's get in the car and drive it. All right, we are inside the car, so I'm going to start it up now. And I'm going to close the windows. And I'll try to drive somewhere where it's dry. So let's go where it's, yes, your NSX can get caught in the rain, no big deal. My favorite thing about this car, I'll tell you, the interior anyway, is this large tachometer. I'm a sucker for analog tachometers. The ride is actually, I think the reason the NSX appeals to so many people is that the ride is really good. So most exotic cars have a very stiff ride. This car has a very supple ride, but still has fantastic handling. Acura really knocked it out of the park with this car, wanting it to be a supercar. And I think it appeals to people of all ages. It appeals to 20-year-olds and it appeals to 70-year-olds. When you go to an NSX meet, there's all kinds of people, all different ages, all different likes, because this car drives so well. I haven't used the wipers, I think, in forever. Now you can see how smooth it drives. The handling is fantastic on this car because it's mid-engine. Values on this car, like I said, 02 to 05s, they only made about 862 of these cars. Again, about 90% are manual transmissions. 05s, the last year, always has the most collectability because it's the last version. This car, brand new in 2005, was actually $93,000. And that's a big jump from $65,091, but adjusted for inflation during those years, it probably isn't. If you really want to get into an NSX, I would definitely focus on my first one, 91 and 96. If you could pay the premium for the NA2s, the 97 and up, they are definitely worth the money, but I wouldn't forego an NSX just because I was saving up for the NA2s. I think realistically, the NA2s will go up so much that, or all NSXs, get one now, you won't be able to save enough, I think, to catch it. Gas mileage is fantastic in this car. So I could drive this car at 7,000 RPM for an hour. The gas will go down one notch. So it probably gets in the 30s on the highway easily. I do mainly back roads. I mean, on the highway, it seems to be very comfortable, like at that 80 miles an hour in 6th gear. But, just like any car, if you have a visceral sports car, do you really want to be driving it just for the highway? You want to tackle some back roads with it. So I usually take it to Cars and Coffees, car shows, or where I know I can get a spirited drive. Very easy to heel toe. Typically I take the roof off, so I try to drive it as much in nice weather with the roof off. I think it just gives more of a visceral experience. Even when I was looking for my 1995, I started with Targas. So that was the first year of the Targa 95. 91 to 94, they were all coupes. Brakes last a long time. I think the front brakes were replaced on this car before I got it, but I think I have original rear brakes. And brakes last a long time because this car is pretty light. They're about 2,900 pounds, maybe 3,000 even with the Targas. Targas weigh about 100 pounds more. The only thing downside of this car, for both NSXs I had, the 95 and the 2005, is that they're very quiet from the factory. So this has an aftermarket Pride exhaust. I think it's a V1 or V2, I forget. And you can actually transfer between cars like I did. There's just like a different hanger you have to use. So I put it on my NA1 car, my 95, and then when I bought this, I transferred it over. Now, in a perfect world, I would have kept both NSXs. There's a lot of people with two. I would have tucked this away for resale and then driven the heck out of the 95. Now, when I bought the 95 for $31,000, I needed a timing belt, so it was probably worth maybe $33 at the time. I got it for $2,000 less because that's what it cost to do the timing belt. They were underappreciated cars. They were cheap for so long, so you really got to watch what you buy, see how many owners it's had. It's common to have a lot of owners because they were $25,000 cars in 2009. So when I bought my car for $31,000, if I had bought it 2 years earlier, it would have been a $25,000 car. I just like the Targa experience better than the coupes. I think the people that have driven the cars and didn't like it, I think they drove the coupe. The coupe had the manual steering, and I just think a Targa exhaust gives it a more visceral experience. All right, so time to take this to winter storage. So I hope you enjoyed my review of my 2005 NSX. This is definitely a keeper car for me, and we'll have more videos of this car in the spring. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.